Hi everyone, I'm Ali. I'm going to be your teacher this year. This is the first recording I've done, so let's see how this goes. Welcome to your first lecture of Communicating Through Form. This is my first recorded lecture, so there's going to be a learning curve here. Just as you are learning to be a student entirely online during a pandemic, I'm also learning to be a teacher entirely online during a pandemic. So we'll have to figure this out together. There will be moments where we'll stumble and we're just going to have to adjust. I really believe that in order to develop a practice of knowing and learning through making, which is what we do at art and design universities, we have to learn together, to talk about our work, to support each other through aid and honesty. This is going to be an especially difficult year to learn these things and to create these conditions. But I promise to do my best to make this happen through curriculum and through availability. Let's talk about this course a little bit, shall we? The description of this course reads like this: fundamental practices of two-dimensional form to represent ideas, research, context, products, and space will be introduced. Building on an understanding of the elements and principles of design, the fundamentals of visual and typographic hierarchy, and the basics of photography using light and color will be explored. Sequential approaches to documenting and presenting product-driven work are introduced as a way to communicate design intent. Essentially what I'm saying here, or what this course description is saying here, is that we're going to look at 2D design. We're going to look at two-dimensional design. By the end of this course, students will be able to apply concepts and languages of visual communication to design projects, structure image and text elements in relation to each other and in space, document and research outcomes using a variety of photographic practices with a particular focus on the use of light and color. Apply and integrate design principles, typography, and photography. Select and apply the most suitable visual communication method for a variety of audiences and contexts. To summarize this in a clearer, more concise way, we're going to learn to work with form, that is the visual language of two-dimensional form, typography, letters, words, paragraph, texts, books, pages, websites, everything, and photography. Communicating Through Form is a class designed to introduce the basics of 2D visual communication as it relates to industrial design. Before we talk about this course, let's talk about this year. This year is going to be a lot different. It's going to be remote. It's going to be asynchronous. This is going to be a struggle because I really believe that design school relies on critique. That is sharing sharing your work with your peers and getting feedback and giving feedback about your work. It also relies on collaboration. This is an image of a bunch of pebbles from Cape Breton. The reason why I use this image is because I think that there's a great metaphor here, that the stones on the beach are smoothed out from constantly being knocked against each other. This is a term that was, there's a term coined by Professor Victor Sogan-Hori known as mutual polishing. And that's what I think Art and Design University is about, is mutual polishing. As much as you have things to learn from instructors like me, you have more to learn from each other. We're going to do our best to find ways to collaborate with each other and trust each other. This is an especially difficult year because we're all living under very adverse conditions and it's a stressful time. I include these resources on most of my lectures, but this is an especially important year to call them out. If you feel like you need additional support, there's the Health and Wellness Center. the Disability Services Center, the English Language Learning Center, and the OCAD Student Union, and they're all available to you. The Health and Wellness Center is good for physical health, physical and mental health. If you find yourself too stressed, if you find yourself struggling, they're an excellent resource to visit. Disability Services is here to help ensure that you have maximum access to the tools to learn for students. English language learning is great for English language learners and international students who might need a little help if they're struggling with language. And lastly, OCAD students are entirely represented by a group of your peers known as the OCAD Student Union. And they provide a number of services, both digital and physical, in space when we all return to spaces eventually. On to a little bit about me. My name's Ali Kadir. I'm originally from Kingston, Ontario. Usually at this point in the lecture, I'll ask a question. I'll ask the question if anybody in the class is from Kingston. So I don't think I can do that because I'm not going to get that feedback here today. So instead, what I'm going to ask is, if you're from Kingston, send me an email. Let me know what high school you went to. After leaving Kingston, when I completed high school, I've lived in a number of cities. And these are just 3 libraries that were important to me in the last 3 cities I lived in. So after Kingston, I went to Montreal, where I studied at McGill University, which, if you see on the far left there, that is the McGill University Berks Library, where I studied philosophy and religion. After that, I moved to New York City. In the middle there, you're going to see the New York Public Library, where I became a self-taught graphic designer and worked there for many years. And lastly, at one point, I realized that my self-initiated learning was insufficient, and I decided to go back to school. And I went to the Rhode Island School of Design in Providence. That's the RISD library right there, where I learned, where I got my MFA in graphic design. Furthermore, a couple years ago, I became a father. This is my daughter, Rosie. She is likely at some point this year going to wander into this room. So consider yourself warned. And I'll probably post a lot of pictures. I'll probably include pictures of her throughout my lectures. When I first wrote this, it's been a couple years ago. I wrote this lecture a couple years ago. So now I am decided, as I'm rewriting it today, this year, I decided to include a more up-to-date photo of her. This is what she looks like now. My own practice as a graphic designer has to do with code, tech, but also typography and printing. I'm really interested in the idea of making, unmaking, and remaking tools. So I like to tear apart printers. I like to write websites that print books. I like to do kind of more fun experimental work that doesn't always yield consistent results. Let's talk about communicating through form, the course. As I said earlier, the course is devoted to 3 sections, and I'm breaking the course into these 3 sections: form, type, and image. This course is going to consist of a variety of things to compensate for our lack of classroom attendance. 1, you'll have video lectures, just like this. Most weeks I'll include 1 file of a video lecture. I'll try to keep them between 20 and 40 minutes. Additionally, at the beginning of each of the 3 units, I'm going to ask that you do a reading and write a short response in the provided field. These are reading responses. Here's the first reading response, which is due next week. Additionally, every week there will probably be a 1 to 2 hour workshop that is in essence a short form assignment. I will usually include a workshop write-up with a submission tool, as well as a video lecture that explains how to do it. This is an image from this week's workshop tutorial video. Lastly, at the end of each unit, we'll have a slightly longer 2 to 3 week assignment. They may require some feedback, some peer feedback, I should say. This is the first assignment that you'll have due in a few weeks. In essence, you're going to be asked to design a letter, but don't worry about it for the next couple weeks. This course is broken down as follows. 40% of your final grade will come from workshops. In total, there will be 9. 15% of your final grade will come from readings and responses. So there will be 3 of those. And 40% of your final grade will come from assignments, which you will get 3 assignments, one from each unit. Normally, in a regular class, I would assign a 10 to 15% participation grade, but we will not have that. With that said, I really hope that everyone can be present just enough to at least to gain a sense of the existence of everybody else. Lastly, we have a class time blocked out every week, and I'll be present at that time via Microsoft Teams. I'll post a scheduled meeting to Canvas in advance of every class time. Attendance is never necessary, but it will be a good place to get critique, feedback, help, and to meet and work with your peers. Every week, I will post planned activities during this period. If you can't meet during class, but you'd still like to meet me to talk about your work, or to get advice, or to ask anything else, please send me an email and we can arrange a time for me to meet outside of those hours. If you're ever unsure what to do for this class, always check the modules sections of this course on Canvas. I've broken the course into 12 weekly modules. I post all of the pages, tasks, and files for the week in their own section. For example, this week, you will be listening to this very lecture, which you're doing right now. Excellent work. You have a reading response to complete. You have to watch the walkthrough video of cutting, pasting, and documenting, which is linked from the module. There's a worksheet and the actual workshop itself. In addition to that, there will also be optional class time on September 11th at 3:10 p.m. What I have planned is an icebreaker to get to know all of you and for you to get to know me and hopefully for you to get to know each other. Email me anytime. Please allow up to 24 hours for me to respond, as I am working from home and I have a child. My email address is akadeer, Qadeer, @faculty.ocadu.ca. This concludes the technical details for this class. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. If you're confused by something, chances are that you're not the only one. So if you send me an email and it feels like needing clarification and I feel like the whole class could use that clarification, I may send my answer to the whole group. I'll try as well as I can to be clear and to clarify things as we continue along in this course. Now, on to the next portion of this lecture, the first sort of official lecture of this class. And it's a pretty short lecture. I just want to talk about the 3 details as to why this class matters to your industrial design degree. Firstly, industrial design is largely a practice of making objects with an intended use. This is the Sadia chair by Enzo Mari. Historically, we've made objects that we interact with, things like chairs, or maybe this singular brass knuckle made by CW&T. We've made artifacts out of wood and metal and plastic and all sorts of other materials with an eye towards producing multiples. And that is producing more than a singular one, and with an eye towards mass reproduction. It could even be my personal favorite design of all designed artifacts, the bicycle. Each one of these objects communicate their intended use through their form. The chair tells you what's for your butt and what's for your back. There's a right and wrong way to wear the brass knuckle, and its fit will tell you. And a bike has all sorts of ergonomic cues. By ergonomics, I mean the application of psychological and physiological principles to the engineering and design of products, processes, and systems. Another artifact which communicates its use is a book. I love that it says that I accidentally put the caption bicycle, but that is a book. A book is designed for a two-armed being. It is designed to be read, it has a center point, and it communicates your physical interaction with it. So when we talk about form, we're also talking about learning the language of use as communicated by how it looks rather than just what it says in words. In other words, we're talking about developing an understanding of a visual language. And the intent of this course is to give you a bit of that vocabulary. The second reason why this course matters is that industrial design increasingly relies on the tools of visual communication. Industrial designers work closely with systems design, interface design, taking on roles that have historically been thought of as graphic design. This is a user flow diagram. This is an early prototype sketch for a digital interface. These are example application screens. The language of interaction is just as important here as it is in the language of interaction of a physical tool. Furthermore, we're responsible not only for the design of our products, but also in communicating their design to manufacturers and even the general public. This is the construction plans for the Sedia chair that we looked at earlier, this one right here. This was designed by Enzo Mari in the 1970s as a form of auto design. Rather than produce a number of those physical chairs and selling them, he produced and distributed these plans themselves under the idea that everybody would design them for themselves. The line between graphic designers and industrial designers is thin and blurry. This is Hector by Jurg Lenny. This is a digital device that can be hung onto walls and will spray designs onto them using a spray canister. Hector is more than a simple thing. It's a product, a system, and a code base. Oop, an empty screen there. Don't mind that. Unlike more specialized professions, industrial designers find themselves using a wide range of skills in their day-to-day practice. Whether it's model making, drawing, user research, photography, coding, or anything else, designers tend to develop a basic competency across a variety of disciplines. These are parts for microcontrolled physical computing devices known as Arduino. This is for creating smart products and smart forms that can respond to users in physical space. Furthermore, absolutely everything that we make has a surface. Remember that chair that we saw earlier, the Sedia chair? In recent years, the organization Boot Boys Biz created a publication printed directly onto that chair and retailed as a deconstructed form of that chair. So whether it's machined, screen-based, paper-based, or any other form, there's always going to be a surface that requires additional consideration. Lastly, The last reason why this course matters is that you will find the principles, practices, and software that you learn in this course are crucial to the rest of your degree. Throughout this degree, you're going to be asked to design not only just physical products and forms and 3D structures, you'll also be expected to design systems maps, product images, photographs of the things that you make, logos and identities for the things that you make, process books, journey maps, and interfaces. Okay, and many more forms drawn from the fundamentals that you're going to learn from this class. So I'm going to leave this lecture here. If you can make it, please join on Friday for a quick icebreaker. It would be nice to get you to know you all and for you all to get to know each other. Your tasks this week are the reading and written response, the workshop assignment, make sure you read it carefully, watch the video, and follow the instructions. And I look forward to meeting you all on Friday. All the best.